Okay, cool.
That's alright, I'm always kind of leaning anyway.
One more time.
Irigoyen.
Idigori. Wait, Idi what?
Irigoyen.
Idigori. Hey y'all, welcome to Whiz Babble. I'm Whiz, and today we have David Irigoyen. Did I say it right? I said it wrong, huh?
Irigoyen.
Irigoyen. Okay, whatever.
MMJ_David.
Yeah, we gonna keep it just like that.
That's why I do that. It was like, why you got MMJ David? I'm like, man, trying to spell my last name. Shit.
Irigoyen.
Yeah.
David, we got David Irigoyen. Okay, cool. I said it right. Here with me to talk about plant medicine. Because he is the guru of that.
Oh, no.
He said, oh no. Go ahead and introduce yourself, David. Let him know who you are, what you're about.
Hey, my name is David Irigoyen, like Katrina introduced me as. I own and operate Natural Healing Care Center down in Tucson, Arizona. We are a holistic wellness center. We focus on alternative medicine. A big part of that is cannabis as an alternative. So we help people get their medical marijuana cards in Arizona. We introduce them to the plant, how to use it, how to dose it, properly take it, and the stuff associated with cannabis use. We also do naturopathic medicine. I have a doctor that does remote naturopathic medicine out of Phoenix, Arizona, and hormone therapy and weight loss naturopathically or holistically. We used to do massage therapy and acupuncture, but during COVID, or before COVID, but since COVID, we haven't done any physical treatment. So looking forward to reintroducing that here in 2024. But for in the meantime, just been getting education out there. Published a book, Infusing with Cannabis for Natural Pain Relief. You can find it on Amazon.com and our website, and also at Barnes & Noble. But yeah, that gives some information to people on how to make their own cannabis products, dose it specifically, and keep the raw ingredients of the plant so they're not getting any undesired effects from the Delta-9 THC, tetrahydrocannabinol. So that's one of the cannabinoids of cannabis. There are hundreds of them that are being discovered almost every day, it seems like. But obviously that's not true, or else there would be a lot more. But there are a lot of cannabinoids that were being recently discovered within the last 5 to 10 years, and we're just showing people how they affect the body and how they help people. Everybody has an endocannabinoid system, so our bodies are made to naturally bond and bind with the cannabinoids in cannabis, so it is made for our DNA, along with being non-toxic or life-threatening. No one's ever died from over-consuming cannabis or has developed any chronic long-term debilities from over-consuming cannabis. So cannabis, say what you want about it, is still one of the safest plant medicines on the planet. You can even over-consume caffeine, coffee beans, tobacco. All those things are more toxic to the body. Even certain spices and herbs than cannabis, it just doesn't have that kind of effect on the liver as some of these other herbs have.
Yeah, man. You hear that? We're meant to consume that as a medicine. It's meant for us. It's medicine meant for us.
But I want to just reiterate, I'm not the plant guru. I am just a guide for the plants to reintroduce people to nature. The plants are the ones that actually do all the healing, and nature is the guru.
Hell yeah.
I just trying to show people what I've learned over the years of being in this industry. It's been 12 years now, and I've learned that not only cannabis but other herbs have medicinal benefits, and I'm not familiar with all of them, but the ones I use, I know help other people too, especially like tea tree oil, oregano oil,
Oregano
lavender oil, spearmint oil, peppermint
rosemary.
oil, rosemary oil. See, like
I love
all
that
those
shit.
plants, and a lot more.
Yeah.
So many, beautiful benefits. Ylang ylang, ooh, that one right there. That's that sensual one. So, it's just, it's all of it right there. They all have their benefits, and just telling people about that. But I'm not familiar with all of them, and shit, I don't even know what they all look like. I know what I get introduced to, and I'll research more of it.
Hell yeah.
And then I'm like, wow, this does have benefits. Like, it's been used for thousands of years, and if not hundreds of years, but a lot of them have been used for thousands of years and have all these benefits, and we're just disconnected from them using all this chemical stuff. And
Are you familiar with creosote at all?
Oh, heck yeah, man. It's native over here.
Yeah.
Shoot, that's what you smell when it rains. That's that beautiful smell.
Man, I'm just thankful my, shout out Laguna Elementary School taught me about creosote in, like, I don't know, 3rd or 4th grade, when we're learning about just our native land and what's useful here, like what we lived on back in the day when we didn't have all this other bullshit. I'll go ahead and say just all this random, I don't know, chemical bullshit. And creosote's a big one, and it's used for, for medicinal purposes. And God, the smell of it is just really does a lot. And I've started
teas out of it.
Yeah, you can make teas out of it. Definitely done that before. I like to macerate the oil and put it in my hair oils and stuff. That's kind of experimental, right? Because we don't really have too many studies on what it does in these different ways. It's just like this ancient medicine that's been passed down. Like, it's medicine, it works, here you go. But I don't know much about it, like, topically. So I've kind of been experimenting and seeing how it, like, helps the scalp. And no like, crazy changes that I've noticed. But it's not hurting anything, and it smells great.
No, even with that stuff, you can go in. It is native here in Arizona, southern Arizona. So we can grab it, put it in a little bottle, a mason jar, pour some oil in there, like olive oil or sunflower oil.
Olive oil. Olive is my favorite.
Yeah, jojoba oil, which is jojoba's also native here. You put some of that oil, let it saturate with a closed lid, on the windowsill for like 3 weeks to a couple months, and now you have your wild crafted oil right there that you can just apply to your skin. Like Katrina said, you can use it for topicals, whatever you want to do. It's really easy just to wildcraft that stuff.
Yeah, it's best to catch it before it blooms. All those little white flowers, the little white puffs. Whenever it starts to go crazy with those, like right before then. And 2, don't ever take it from somebody else's land. I've been put on. Thank you to the native Tucsonans who have put me on to, how to really go about harvesting this plant and macerating the oil. Also, the jar you macerate it in, make sure nothing else has really been in that jar. And it's just for that. There's something about, it's essence in there. Because I don't know if you've ever tried to put something in a pickle jar, but it just smells like pickles.
Yeah.
Like, no matter like how much you clean it, what bleach you use, and then
I understand.
Yeah, you don't want to like put bleach in that jar and stuff. So just some tips on maceration, and I feel like this could probably go for like any plant medicine or any plants that you're trying to macerate the oil and kind of get the benefits from it.
Yeah, that's a good one right there. We also have some good cacti over here that is powerful. It's like our prickly pears and our saguaro fruits and
we got some good ones.
Agave.
Yep, and I really do see like most plants as medicine, whether you're just eating it or you're just using it for aromatherapy. That does a lot for your mental. or like psychedelics. So they're all just, I feel like they're just here to help us. And if I feel like if it's helping us on a level like that, it's medicine, it's medicinal. So we're here to get into that. I just braided David's
my little tail.
Your tail, his tail up real quick, and we're gonna switch over to the Bluetooth. Catch you on the flip side. Okay, hey y'all, we're back. So David, I want to get a little bit more into like your podcast and you being a person that's just kind of guiding others to these plants and their medicinal purposes and how to utilize them, especially people who are more so used to like pharmaceuticals and Western medicine. So with your podcast, what is like the demographic that you're reaching? Who are the people who are looking into this, and how are you kind of guiding them to using cannabis?
Yeah, so we started Tuesday night smoke sesh in 2023, early 2023. Initially, just to share my experiences with cannabis and the medical marijuana program in Arizona to the people. I've been able to help thousands of people obtain relief with cannabis and introduce them to cannabis with Natural Healing Care Center. So I had all this information and experiences. I was just like, I want to get it out to the people. And that's where we started Tuesday Night Smoke Sesh. The content for it, I started off with what I would do for people initially when we started Natural Healing. I would give them a complimentary consultation. So anybody that came in and get their medical marijuana card from 2012 till 2023 would have the opportunity to have a complimentary consultation with me. In that time, I give them 30 minutes to ask any questions they had about cannabis. But before that, I'll start my little 2-minute spiel about how we all have an endocannabinoid system, so we're all made to bind with the plant.
Like it's okay.
Yeah.
Like we're not breaking any rules or anything.
Yeah. I'll tell them the multiple ways of consumption, how you can eat it, inhale it, apply it topically. I tell them how to properly dose it. So we start off with like the parameters for safe dosing, get an idea of their history. And I'll ask that too if they had any experience with cannabis. So that's that right there. I did that with multiple people. So I figured, all right, I'll answer those same questions, the key questions on this podcast. So that's what all the education started off from there. And I think that's important because those are a lot of the questions and concerns that a new person to cannabis is going to have, because for so many years cannabis was scrutinized and it had the stigma behind it.
Yeah.
So we're over here
straight up lied about.
Exactly. So we're over here trying to actually educate and inform people on the truth behind cannabis, and it's not a cure-all. I tell people that, and especially now, there are tampered plants. Like there is stuff being sprayed. There is stuff that is being grown and selected that has these unbalanced ratios of THC to CBD and all this other stuff. 38% THC, 40%.
Yeah.
That's not what we need.
Yeah.
We need balance, but that stuff throws off the benefits and the true purpose of the plant, because it's showing people a different light of it, especially when you can tamper with it, like they're doing with some of these CBD strains that they're spraying with like fake THC or...
Well, so for the people, who have been smoking and are just loving these high THC percentage strains, can you enlighten us on why it's not supposed to be like that?
Yeah, so Dr. Johnson talks about that on one of the podcasts. High amounts of THC is not ideal for the medicinal benefits of the plant. Like, yeah, maybe it does get you zooted and
high.
stoned, and high.
which is great, but that's not the true medicinal purpose of the plant.
Right.
It's to bring homeostasis, to bring balance to the person. THC itself is actually a stress relief from the plant. The female plant of Cannabis sativa wants to propagate and it wants to reproduce.
Mm-hmm.
When it does not reproduce, it starts to create a stress hormone, a stress release, and that stress is THC. Exactly.
Okay.
Is tetrahydrocannabinolic acid.
Okay.
THCA. That THCA starts to get reproduced. And the more it stresses out over its duration before it's complete or turns into the full flower, that duration, it just keeps creating more THC.
Okay.
So that's what we're over here smoking and getting high off of, is the stress response
Of the
from
plant.
the plant. Yeah, when
Of the
its
mama.
true purpose is to reproduce, we take that product with all the seeds and all of it, and we create it into oils and products that we can ingest orally
Yeah.
or topically. Those are going to give us more benefits than inhalation, and that's why I tell people in this book is it gets you back to the true intent of the plant, which was to eat the cannabis, to apply the cannabis topically, because for years and years and years it was used that way before it was able to be inhaled.
Right.
All the previous documents from like 4000 BC and 2400 BC with like the Ming Dynasty and before all that, because it was discovered, the first content is discovered in Asia, and this dates back thousands of years ago.
Okay.
And those documents, it was ingested, and that's when they read about it. So it's not, we didn't have portable flame, you know, we weren't walking around with fucking big old torches and these bongs, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
For making a
yeah,
fire
exactly.
so you can smoke your weed.
You know,
I feel like
let me
it's
pull
more
out my
natural.
coals, you know.
Yeah. That's funny.
You know, and just like, oh man, oh, it feels so good. It's like, no, man, let's take
It's
this
natural
oil, yeah,
to eat
that
plants.
Ezekiel made,
Yeah.
and let's drink this oil, you know,
Yeah.
like that's how it was taken back then.
Yeah.
And that's the true purpose of the plant. But now we're all, you know, we got our vape cartridges and all these other things that were so convenient. But that, and they do work. Don't get me wrong. They have their purpose. I've seen people with multiple sclerosis and Parkinson's disease and just very spasmatic. And they hit the vape pens and it subsides. Yeah.
It's very like to the head.
Oh, wow.
Get the job done. Really heavy too. Like whatever it's supposed to do is just like, and that's that. I mean, I haven't smoked, and I usually smoke quite a bit, but I haven't smoked in some months. But once in a while, I will like eat an edible because it's just. Now that my tolerance is so fucking low, I'm like scared to smoke because I know how heavy of a hit it is, literally, you know, like to your brain. So I'm like, let me go ahead and eat this edible so that it creeps up on me and it doesn't like freak me out. But that can happen too over the hour that it takes to like get to you. But yeah, it's just so heavy. So, you know, it has its purpose. It's needed sometimes, and sometimes maybe not.
But that's knowing its dosage, and once you know what your dosage is and what your threshold is for getting to that level of like undesired effects, then you can avoid that. But that's with any medication. Like if you go take ibuprofen or Oxycontin or any kind of medication a physician prescribes you, there's a specific dose that they give you and parameters to stay within, and then they say if you don't need that much, you can just cut it in half. And that's how cannabis dosing is, and that's why now with these edibles we can actually determine that, and with knowing what the THC content is, we can determine that. But really quick with taking the inhalation versus the edibles, like and knowing the difference of effects and experiencing those different effects, it is not only showing you that they will hit you differently, but they also are helping you differently. And that's because that endocannabinoid system, we have different receptors in different areas within our body. So it's in our endocrine system. So it's in our immune system. It's in our central nervous system. It's in all these other systems in our body, and working with all these hormones and glands that I could tell you, it's trying to create homeostasis, and you get different results from different methods of consumption. So inhaling it for people that have some sort of neurological disorder going on, it could affect them differently. Ingesting it for someone that has some sort of, eating it and digesting it for someone that has some sort of like autoimmune disease going on, it's going to help them differently. Maybe they don't like the effects of smoking it because theirs is not really neurological, so they don't have this stuff going on where they have to, it's so much in their brain, it's so much in their body and cells, and that ingesting it, that eating it is going to distribute differently than it would from inhaling it. And the same thing with applying it topically. And the skin is our largest organ of the body. So it's
the most vital one. It holds it all together.
So not only is the endocannabinoid system within all these other organs and these systems within our body, our skin is no different. So applying it topically is going to help out. I went and did a talk for a medical group, and I had all these physicians and nurses and all their staff over there. They wanted to learn more about cannabis because they were like, "There's no way." And I go on that talk, and this doctor this whole time is like, and he starts asking questions, and I start answering them, and he's like, "There's no way." I'm like, "You can't tell me there's no way because I see that. We see the charts." And then one of his
denying reality.
And one of his staff is actually like, "Doctor, so and so, I actually used cannabis for my skin cancer, and they took it away immediately." He's like, "There's no way." And she's like, "Yes, it did." And he's like, "You have the charts and everything?" She's like, "Yes, I didn't want to tell anyone about it, but I used this stuff, Rick Simpson oil. I put it on my skin, and it took my skin cancer away." And he was just, oh my God, amazed by it. And then after that, it broke that barrier, and he was receptive. And now they send people to us, and
it broke the barrier.
People.
Well, let's talk about that real quick, about how, there's a reason behind the lies being told about cannabis, right? There's a reason behind them not teaching about it at all. And I feel like it's about money.
Always follow the money, but, here's the thing. When it comes to, first of all, anytime there's money involved in corporate greed, there's going to be lies, there's going to be corruption. Yes, so that right there is not the fault of the physicians. It's the people that control the programs and control the status, because these doctors that are going to medical school and these up-and-coming physicians, they're not taught about cannabis. They're not taught about certain plant medicines. Now, they may be introduced to things that have been approved through their curriculum or through their practices in the hospitals, because that's what they're all doing. They're practicing medicine. They're not doing medicine. They're practicing medicine. Right. So all these practices going on, they're not exposed to certain things because it throws off some of the other stuff, because some of the stuff is beneficial. So if it was actually helping, it's not being practiced, so... that right there is not the doctor's fault. It's the program's fault. And I see these doctors that wanna, they wanna be more integrated, and they want to show people that you can use herbs and acupuncture and meditation and nature and nutrition, but it's not all of them. It's still unfamiliar. Yeah. And it's just because of the curriculum. Unless they want to go and learn it on their own, or they know someone that uses cannabis and it's introduced them to them and has broken that barrier and has created that gateway to alternative medicine. Unless they do that, then no. But I do know a lot of these doctors, their intention is to help people, and they took a Hippocratical oath to help people. So I know it's not them saying no to the plant. A lot of it is where they're working. who's funding them. There's hospitals that are being funded by organizations or owned by organizations that they already know they don't want anything to do with cannabis because it is going to help. It's going to take away from some of their other practices of treatment, so they don't want to incorporate it. And
right.
There's a lot that are. They're okay with it. They're just like...
And you said take away from their practices. So do you feel like it goes against all of that, the plant medicine and nature?
I don't know if it goes against it. It's just, in being in that industry and working in that field, I know that there has to be a lot of control, and that's why they keep the hospitals clean. That's why they try to keep everything organized and clean, especially with your treatment, because they want to know what's working and what's not. So it's kind of like a research experiment where you have your theories and what you're going to do, and then you have your control.
Everything is measured.
Yeah, to keep that control, you have to keep specific requirements and parameters. And when you start incorporating other things, it throws that off because now you don't know what's helping, so it's hard to get an idea. So I know that sometimes that affects what's going on. I know sometimes there's, because there hasn't been a lot of research with cannabis, there are certain restrictions implemented because of that, and not so much because it's the physician's idea.
Yeah.
It could be like a transplant, an organ transplant or something, and they're like, well, I don't know how the organ will take. Like, if the cannabis is making you too healthy, then they can reject the organ. There's all these theories and stuff. So I know that's why sometimes it's not being implemented. With cancer treatment, I know sometimes it's not being implemented because the physicians want to measure how the chemo's working and how the radiation's working versus everything that's just being thrown to it. They don't care about that. They want to know what's working right now so they can take this information to try to help someone else in the future. That's their idea. That's their intention. Yeah. So it's not so much like, oh, cannabis is evil. It's just like, no, if it's throwing off everything. We need to know how we can cure cancer. We want to cure cancer. So that's our goal, is to cure cancer.
Yeah.
And we can't cure cancer if we're throwing in these factors that are messing with our research. So, I know sometimes that's a problem. I know government assistance, if the hospital is being, or clinic is being funded by government aid, then, or have government contracts, and they cannot work with cannabis because cannabis is still illegal. The DEA just put out a memo last week, on the first week of 2024, saying that regardless if the FDA decides to reschedule cannabis or not, because that's the big talk right now because we're in an election year.
Right.
Regardless if they decide to reschedule cannabis, the DEA still has their own opinion, and that's what holds when it comes down to the end of it. So even if we throw all this research at them, if we have everyone talk and we're like, oh, cannabis is the miracle plant, and we have all this proof, the DEA can still be like, nah, it's not. And you know why? Because under the table, you got Joe Pharmacy walking into the DEA, dropping bags and bags and bags of money in there so they can go get their sharp-looking suits and their shiny new badges and the fucking cars that can beat any souped-up car out there, so they can stay ahead of the gangs and the mobsters and the corruption. And it's like, who's got... First of all,
what matters?
All the ones that I've seen, like gangsters back in the day, the mobsters, they ain't living like the way these fucking pharmacy reps and these pharmacy owners, and I see pharmacy reps living up in gated communities over here.
Yeah.
And I see pharmacists driving luxury cars, like you see the gangsters back from like the Scarface movies driving back in the day, and with the women and all this, and like, who's the drug dealers?
Who's the top dog mafioso right now, for real?
So let's talk about that. I know that the pharmaceutical industry is a big factor in all this.
Yeah.
When I put out posts, so first of all my pages on social media are shadow banned. I can only get exposed to my followers. I cannot get exposed to any non-followers at all.
Yeah.
So all my stuff only goes to followers. So, and I can't monetize it. and I cannot promote any of it. I can't boost or promote any of it because of cannabis.
Yeah.
The minute I put something out there through another channel when trying to get slick with it, it gets flagged because they have bots that go and flag stuff about cannabis. And it's all factual information. It's not like I'm blurting out lies and hysteria out there. I'm putting out factual information that's already been published by the Library of Congress, is in scientific journals, and there's patents for this stuff, like U.S. patent 6630507. That is owned by the United States, showing that cannabinoids in cannabis act as neuroprotectants and antioxidants. So these scientific results already support the benefits of this plant, and all I'm doing is showing people it. And the bots or the people that get paid by the groups to go out there and flag posts that are offensive, they flag it.
Offensive.
But you can have people out there showing body parts, getting smashed and drunk and
fighting,
lit,
talk about like real offense,
you know, like dying, dog, like dying, dude. I seen someone just die the other day on social media, like literally fell to their death. And it's just like right there, and it's just like,
and we can't can't
talk about cannabis.
Can't talk about things that are helping
a plant that not one person's ever died from. Like I said before, not one person has ever died from overconsumption. Now, if you get all high and you eat a bunch of edibles and you fucking get behind the wheel, or you're looking over a balcony and you fall to your death, or over the Grand Canyon or some shit, like, that's different. Like, you consume something that altered your mobility, and you were in those situations where you shouldn't be operating heavy machinery. Like any medication, you have to respect it.
Made a mistake.
Especially if you overtake it, you just go relax and rest it off. But you don't get it. But the plant itself didn't kill the person. You know, it didn't cause them to seize up and die.
It didn't cause them to die. It didn't cause their organs to shut down.
Exactly. Shut down. No failure or anything.
Like alcohol.
In fact,
I want to just throw that out there. Like okay, a whole bunch of pharmaceuticals can kill people. Alcohol can kill people.
All of it, dude.
Not
you
drunk
can
driving.
drink alcohol. You can overconsume
driving.
alcohol and die from alcohol poisoning, or you can choke on your own vomit. Like, all this stuff can happen. If you overeat weed, like, let's say right now you and I ate 200 milligrams of THC, even 500 milligrams, we're going to be lit, dude. Lit.
Yeah.
We're going to feel like not wanting to do much. But after 3 days, when it's all out of your system, and you're like, oh man, finally, I'm not gonna eat any edibles for a couple weeks, you know? But you feel good. You're like, your body feels good. You're like, at least I got some good rest, you know? Like, your cells look good. You look vibrant still. Like, you don't look all... like, if you go on that kind of binge with any other substance or overuse it, you're gonna go gray. You got that, like you said, that kidney failure. You just, like, all your organs start working against you. And, I've been there, man. I used to drink a lot back in the day, and, that stuff was no joke. It wasn't until I got my medical marijuana card in 2010, I was like, I didn't need alcohol anymore. Like, it was about 6 months after having my medical marijuana card, I remember telling my group of friends, because that's what we do. We used to pound them. We just put them back. And I was drinking Jaeger bombs and bottles. I was just like, man, I was a fish. And I got my card, and I told my friends, I don't think I'm going to drink anymore. And they're like, BS. I'm like, no, I'm not going to drink anymore.
Yeah.
They're like, why? I'm like, I don't know. I just don't feel like it. Like, just something's telling me. Like, I just got my medical marijuana card, man. I can go buy edibles at the dispensary. I got pulled over twice at that time with weed on me and smoking and dab rigs, and they let me go. They're like, you got your medical marijuana card? They didn't even know about it. They're looking at it. Like, they used to be green at that time. And they're like, I've never seen anything like this. And I was like, man, I don't got to worry about that. Like with alcohol, fuck that, man. Like, they're looking for that shit.
On a non-scientific level, and I won't say uneducated, because this woman definitely had a lot of experience. So based off just experience of this old pothead, and I was young, and she's probably in her like 60s, and I was like 18, and she was like talking to me about how smoking weed will really, like, she's all, the mota will cleanse you of everything else. Like if you're drinking or doing another drug, like it's trying to like get it out of your system. Like it's not going along with all of that stuff, which I think is really interesting. So this is just some like, old head kind of telling me about this, and we're, she's just based off of experience. But I feel like there's some truth to that, because I've seen it, and I've seen people, try to get off of certain pharmaceuticals or other like hard drugs, alcohol, and they they will turn to cannabis, and it will help them a lot. And sometimes it's used with those other things just because people are abusing substances, period. But then there's the other side of it really being like a medicine that helps them get through that withdrawal, get through, their body detoxing this poison. And I love that. I think that's important to know. Of course, people know that people abuse cannabis along with other harder drugs or alcohol, but it also can really be their saving grace and help them whenever they're actually trying to stop abusing substances.
Everything you mentioned is true. It helps with the symptoms of withdrawal. It helps with supplementing the effects of certain prescription narcotics like the opioids. You don't get the same effects, but I know people that can eat hundreds of milligrams of THC edibles, and they say that it's helping with them not having to take 160 milligrams of Percocet, or, we just helped a guy the other day come in. He was on 160 milligrams of morphine, and he just weaned himself down to 60 milligrams. So he's cut 100 milligrams of morphine out of his routine by supplementing cannabis, because his doctor told him that they're going to cut his morphine down, and he wanted to be ready for that before they just threw it at him right away. When the body's been dependent on it for X amount of years, there's certain like responses and triggers are starting to go off. It's almost like if you haven't eaten or something, your body starts to respond in different ways,
right?
And they start to feel the effects of withdrawals pretty rapidly.
Yeah.
And then that's why a lot of people that are on certain medications they have a marking point that is kind of like their like grace point that they allow it to get to, where they're like, okay, I need to re-up and start getting their medication, because they can't go without it, because they already know once you start to get to a certain point, it's not going to be comfortable, and it's not you, it's the chemical withdrawal that the body's going through, and all the receptors that have been affected from all this use over time. They start to respond a different way and react a different way, because they're not getting fed.
The physical like addiction that can happen, right?
It's a chemical. Yeah.
So, I know some people still try to debate whether you can be addicted to cannabis or not. You want to talk about that?
So, through all my years of being around cannabis, even before the legal programs, I've been using cannabis since 1997. So, and pretty regularly since that time, especially the last 20 years, I've been using cannabis regularly.
Yeah.
My friends have all used it regularly. I've met patients that use it regularly, really heavy users. Now, people have to abstain for different reasons, either for work, legal, job, different things. Anytime I've seen them have to, it's uncomfortable for a couple weeks, but they get over it right away, and they can even be around people using it.
Yeah.
So, I haven't dealt with having to abstain personally, so I can't say from my own experience if I've had withdrawals or anything, but I do know that people have had certain uncomfortable experiences, but then it just goes away pretty quick, because I've had people tell me that they were addicted to cannabis and yell at me and say that I was pushing people to a plant that is this, and this, and then they've apologized because afterwards they're like, I wasn't addicted. I was just like, it's just habit forming. Like, I was around it constantly. I was using it. You were one of the people that I was using it around, so I used you as a target. And I apologized. They literally apologized to me saying that it wasn't, because they were able to kick it. And and you want to know what? Because they've been addicted to shit. They've been addicted to coke. They've been addicted to alcohol. They've been addicted to pills. And they've had to come off of that and get institutionalized for some of that stuff. But cannabis, it got uncomfortable. And maybe you had hopped up a couple mucus, and and your energy levels had to reset, and you had to deal with some anxiety that you've been masking with cannabis use, and now you're having to cope and heal through that. But you weren't addicted. You weren't out there doing things that people that have an actual addiction do. Like, I don't see people walking up and down the street on Speedway yelling at themselves and trying to do favors in the alley because they're trying to score some weed. You know, they're usually doing that shit because of meth or crack,
something
or
that
fentanyl,
they're actually physically addicted to.
Exactly.
Like, it's such a big difference from the physical addiction, and then it's in your head.
So,
like, it's a habit and you're used to it.
But there may be some physical association until after you get past that. But then it's like, okay, are you addicted to cannabis, or is cannabis still helping you? Are you still healing through trauma? Are you still healing through pain? Are you still experiencing certain things that you do need to use in a daily setting? And what's wrong with that if you are? Because if it's non-toxic, if it's not damaging your internal organs as bad, if you're rationing it and you're using it responsibly, then what's wrong with using it regularly when you got people out there on pharmaceutical medication every day? I guarantee you, I'll put money on it. You take someone that's been using Valium regularly, and you take someone that's been using cannabis regularly, and you tell them to both stop, and you see who has the most problem stopping. You see.
Well, also, like, measure organ function, like the physical properties of addiction. Like, measure that and see which one is actually being affected.
Dude,
for real.
Take someone that drinks coffee every day.
Caffeine.
Just coffee.
Yeah.
Dude, after X amount, I was reading about this. After X amount of coffee use regularly, you've become addicted. Mm-hmm. You start to experience withdrawals.
Yeah.
You get the heat flashes, the irritability, all this bullshit going on just from coffee. But we got people out here wondering about being addicted to cannabis. Like, it's like, you should be more worried about being addicted to sugar. You should be more worried about being addicted to caffeine. Like, all this stuff out here that is legally being pushed to us and promoted, when cannabis is like, all it's trying to do is create homeostasis. And if someone's life is so messed up in different ways and they're trying to get out of it, or they're trying to find a coping mechanism, and that coping mechanism is cannabis, there is far worse things they could be using. Far worse things. I personally believe internally meditation. I believe we have that power. I know for certain nature has it. If you go out in nature and reset, it may take some time, it may even take a few months, but you get reconnected to nature, you start eating consciously again, you start having vibrant foods. And I'm not saying to go full on vegan or anything, I'm just saying, like, start eating some fibrous foods and
things
some
that
vibrant foods, yes, things that have some color, start eating that. You're gonna start feeling a lot better, and you start going with that balance and living down that road, and start implementing some of these other tools like body work, even sound therapy. There's so many different things down the holistic path that have been effective, like stones, minerals, herbs, other herbs, teas and foods, and balancing your food so your intestines not so overworked to it's causing all this distress internally, and now you're getting all this dis-ease and anxieties externally, like our nutrition. All that's going to help more, and then you won't have to be dependent on cannabis. But if in the meantime cannabis is the one thing in between you and nothing, then that's the best option to have than some other substance. Because I'm telling you, it's hard to get off those other things. I see people come in to use cannabis, like you mentioned, as an alternative for the symptoms, the withdrawals, and then you start, if you just have to wean off of cannabis, it's a lot easier than having to wean off of like coke, without
no, for sure.
cannabis.
And I know, just, you know, knowing addicts throughout my life, I know for a fact, like, these other hard drugs, pharmaceuticals, alcohol, they're not, when they have, like, when they have properties to where you're physically addicted to it, you never feel like one day you just don't want to do it. Like, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it gets to the point where it's hurting you so bad that you're like, fuck, I gotta try to not do this. But, like, cannabis, just with my personal experience, currently, you know, about 5-6 months ago, I don't know, I just felt like I didn't want to smoke, like, or I didn't want to intake it at all. And I feel like that really shows a lot. That says a lot about the addictive properties of it. You know what I mean? Sometimes you don't feel like doing it. Sometimes, I mean, and then sometimes I feel like smoking like every 30 minutes. And for me personally, I feel like it has a lot to do with mental health. You talked about anxiety and stuff like that. And that's when I'm like, okay, yeah, I feel like this is something that's really going to get me through or help me in the moment. And then whenever that subsides and that's under control and it's helped me, it's like, okay, it's like an actual medicine. It's like sometimes you need it, sometimes you don't, and you feel that way. You feel it.
It is a medicine, and there's people that promote abstaining from it for one reason or another, and a lot of times it comes down to the effects of the THC. But that's why in the book, Infusing with Cannabis for Natural Pain Relief, I teach people how to use the raw properties of the plant so they don't have that effect from the THC, because that right there is what's giving the negative stigma behind it. And you can get medicinal relief and more beneficial results from taking it without
getting
smoking
high.
it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And not only with that, just with how we're doing the high THC strains, they're doing the same thing with high CBD strains. And now you can control that. So we can control those ratios to where we are focusing on other cannabinoids that we know have more medicinal benefits and don't cause the same effect as the THC. So, you know, there's people that promote the whole cannabis is bad itself, when it's like, no, even if you think cannabis is bad, there's different ways to use it, and there's different plants and genetics that can be grown that are more specific for lower THC.
Yeah.
So that right there will not give you that same negative response that they talk about. So then we can use it for different purposes. So if that's the case, you can consume it now without that. So that now that you taking out that fear they had with the high and getting addicted to it, now you take that all away, because now we're not focusing on the THC. Now we're focusing on the CBG, the CBN, the CBC, CBDA. We're focusing on those. And now people can use it without having any of that effect. So now what do those people have to say?
Yeah.
Well, still, because I have people like that. And I'll tell them CBD is legal. It's legal. 2018 Farm Bill. You can use CBD because that's one of those cannabinoids. And it is beneficial, I swear. CBD, quality CBD products with full spectrum panels where they're getting still all the cannabinoids, but just like lower THC, the legal amount that they allow us to use, where it's still not affecting people negatively. But still, if you use those products, they really help. Like, I see people come in for them, especially for anti-anxiety, anti-depression.
Yeah.
They help with all that stuff. Then they start helping with inflammation, and we have people using topicals. So that right there...
Inflammation, pain, migraines.
Dude.
Like, my mom, she smoked one time in high school, and it was too much. The THC was too fucking much. It was too trippy, and she, like, can't stand it. But then, you know, as it's more medicinal now, we're learning so much more. And she can go somewhere and get CBD tinctures and using that and seeing how much it helps her. Like, that, I love that. Like, you don't have to, like, smoke weed or be a pothead or whatever to get these healing properties from it, because of all the different cannabinoids and all the different if you do want to smoke too, there's all the different strains of cannabis, and they're all different. Like, what do you need now to have that? What do you call it? Homeostasis, that balance. Like, what do you need to get that balance? It's not gonna always be the same.
But just having those options, having this information, and knowing that those other cannabinoids aren't going to cause that habit forming problem like you would get with the THC, there's still people out there that refuse to use it.
Yeah.
There's still people that were like, no, I don't want it, or it's not for me. Or it's just like, well, how do you know it's not for you? Because technically, you have an endocannabinoid system, and these are cannabinoids. So unless you don't have an endocannabinoid system and you're an insect, are you a cockroach? Because unless you're an insect, you have an endocannabinoid system.
Why do you think it's there?
It is for you.
Yeah.
Your endocannabinoid system should be activated. Don't tell me you don't have any problems. Bullshit. I guarantee you probably stay up all night, or you wake up super early, or you got some sort of imbalance, or you drink all this kind of caffeine or all this sugar. No. Even the people that claim to be the healthiest, they're addicted to exercise. I see them out there. I'm like, okay, you're healing through some trauma too. You're just thinking you're healthy, and you don't talk about it because you go and you run at 4 a.m. until 6 a.m, and then you have to do that every day to cope with all the other stuff going on. And it's no different than someone using cannabis, and you're addicted to that. Take someone away from the workout routine that does it regularly. Try to get in between their eating schedule and tell them they don't act like a drug addict or someone that's an addict, and they're like, no, I need to eat, or you're throwing me off, or I've been around those people. Yeah. I've seen it all. So
you want to dive into talking about mushrooms?
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about the psychedelic and the non-psychedelic. I fucking love mushrooms. The fungus is, I feel like it's great for us. So
I usually eat a little bit before bed here and there and kind of reset. Sometimes I'll eat it during the day, but
psilocybin?
Yeah.
I've never taken it and slept.
Yeah, I like it at night. Kind of just sleep, eat a gram and fall asleep, and oh man, just get some good sleep.
How can you fall asleep? I'm stimulated when
I eat it right before I'm tired, right before bed.
Okay, you don't even give yourself a chance to stay up. Sometimes I've gotten tired though.
Yeah, I don't want to stay up, because you're right. If I stay up, then there's a good chance that I'll have energy.
Yeah.
But if I eat it where I'm already tired and I just eat the little chocolate or something right before bed, I sleep really good and wake up and
hell yeah.
think clearly. I actually did it last night.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm gonna try that, because I do believe that our life when we're asleep, and our subconscious and our dreams and all that is just as important as whenever we're awake. So that would make sense that would help that.
Well, even just being able sometimes to just shut the mind off and let the mushrooms do their thing, because some people have like really overactive minds.
Yeah.
So even like right before bed or while they're sleeping, they're just thinking so much, so it allows you to just kind of relax. And the same thing, like, I don't know so much about the homeostasis within the body, but I do know that like the mushrooms, they want to help rewire things.
Yes.
And they're working within different networks, and a lot of that time they're going and they're trying to repair certain damages that have been caused or done, and that's why people get so much like medicinal results from it, because it's rewiring certain things. So it's helping more with like anxieties, depressions. With the pain relief, I notice it does help too. So I don't know if sometimes my pain is psychological. I do have physical like evidence of pain, and you can see, especially with like hardware in me and with my sciatica. But there's times where I am on the mushrooms and I'm like, wow, like I don't feel any pain right now, and I haven't eaten an edible or anything, so I haven't smoked as much cannabis. And
it could be that, but I do think there's a level that it helps, like, that kind of like that body high you get or whatever, kind of similar to well, not a body high, but yeah, you're just, the pain subsides and you're relaxed, kind of like if you took CBD just by itself. So I feel like there are properties to it. We just are so ignorant about it in general because it's illegal and we're not really like allowed to put it under a microscope like we should, I think. We're just like ignorant to what's going on. We're just kind of experimenting and going based off of experience and what happens to us. But it's hard to explain. Like I do when I talk to people about it, and a lot of people are like, no, I've never done it, but I want to. People say I should, and I'm like, well, I mean, you know, if you're dealing with something, almost even on a spiritual level, it's like, yeah, it can help with that. I feel like for me personally, it helps me break patterns. Psychologically, spiritually, patterns like just negative, maybe toxic patterns in my life. That's what the psilocybin will really kind of bring up to me. And unlike in therapy, when you're crying and like in physical agony, replaying this stuff in your head or talking about these toxic patterns, you're a little euphoric when it brings it to you, so you almost receive it better and you're like, oh, okay. But if you're ready for it, so I definitely tell people like, yeah, don't eat an eighth, and then you got to be ready for this stuff with EMDR therapy, with the mushroom trip, with anything psychological. You have got to be ready to face it. If you're not, like, don't do that. It's gonna be scary. You're gonna probably fight it a lot, and fighting anything like that is never fun.
Yeah, well, with that, you have like, now we have more awareness and control over dosing.
Mm-hmm.
So there are ways to actually like consume it in smaller doses. That's what I do, the microdosing.
Yeah.
But you can also, if you're going to do a larger dose, you know, you can do that. But you always want to have like a guide. If you're going to do something really large, you want to have a guide or someone there with you that can just watch over you. That's not like consuming a large amount.
Bit of a babysitter.
Yeah, you know, someone that can help. And you know, and you need to make sure about your intentions and you know, why you're using it, because it is powerful medicine. So your intentions need to be set.
Yeah.
Your set and setting are important. So your mindset at the time and where you're at, your location, your setting are important. Respecting and honoring the mushrooms, they're a gift to us, and they're not here for abuse or to be exploited. You want to make sure that when you're working at those higher levels of dosages, over a couple grams, that you've done some energetic clearing and you set some prayer and intention, because you start to channel within universes, you know, dimensions. So you start to jump, you jump within dimensions and start to communicate and gather wisdom and knowledge. And when you're in those planes, you need to make sure you're coming back to your whole self, and you're not getting, you know, you're not getting affected too much by anything. So energetically, you know, and then that's, you know, you start talking like that with certain people, it's hocus pocus.
Whatever.
Stuff.
I think we're used to religion, so let's talk about that. Because religions have a lot of rituals, so we won't talk about the hocus pocus stuff, or,
you know, exactly. They're walking around with their cleansing.
That's a ritual, and they're praying, you know, and that's for a reason, because they are tapping into that dimension, that realm of spirituality. And when with the mushrooms will take you there, and you do need to set an intention.
Or you're gonna be more receptive, you know, like everything's on an energetic level, and there's different frequencies out there. That's why animals vibe with different humans differently, you know. They're like, they see someone and right away they're wagging a tail. They see someone else and they're just like, they know, like, man, you're carrying something, you know, like, you know, it may not be you aware of it, but you got something you're carrying, and I don't want to be around it right now. Like, animals are really receptive to all that. So, and they'll show you too. So, you know, even if you come home mad and you have a dog and your dog will react differently, just know, even though you're not mad at them, they just know you're upset. You know, they can pick up that vibe. So when you're on mushrooms, you're more sensitive to that vibe, to those energies. So you just want to make sure you're protecting yourself, you know, so you're not affected by any of it. Not to say that he's going to like latch on and you're going to be possessed and all this bullshit. It's just like, no. You may be in an area where you're open up and you're taking this psychedelic mushroom that's opening you up to this different world, And now you're around these people that are depressed and angry and all that, and that energy can start affecting your experience, because now you're like, oh man, it feels dark in here, it feels like this, and you're not going to be overcome by it. Like I said, it's not a possession type thing, it's just affecting your energy right there. Affect you. Yeah, but if you're in a vibrant area where everyone's all feeling loving and caring and having fun and being nice, or you're around loving people, you know, you're going to feel that too. Yeah. So it's no different, but it's just, before you get into that space, you just need to set your intentions and just do. It doesn't have to be, Bujera, freaking using the sage and prayers and throwing things. Like, no, you don't have to do that. You just say it internally. You know, you can say it externally. You just say, I pray that these bring me love and light and healing and awareness, and that my energy is protected while I'm in this state.
When I'm talking to people about it, just based off of my own experience, not being any sort of guru or any guide at all, but just, people wanting to talk to someone who's done it before, I'm like, make sure that you're comfy and you have fuel. Make sure you have water and foods that you like to eat, foods that are going to make you feel good, and just whatever kind of comfort you need as a human being going through an experience like that, have it. Make sure you have safe people around you, that you're safe for real, the logistics are all there. You don't have to worry about driving or taking care of if you're a caregiver or caretaker. You don't have to worry about any of that. You're really just in this space where you can do that. And of course, I'm talking about full-on tripping, not microdosing, like you're really diving in. And also, if you've never done it before, take baby steps, like you do with cannabis, another psychedelic, or pharmaceuticals. Baby steps. You want to just tiptoe into it and see how it's going to affect you, because just like with anything else, we're all different. It's going to affect us all differently, especially when it's on such deep level, the mental and then the spiritual.
I just had a friend do 12 grams recently.
Jesus.
Yeah, but he's a bigger guy.
I couldn't even imagine what that.
And that's the thing. Like they did it as a ceremony, but not everyone did that amount. They kind of went based off of your experience and your weight. But yeah, 12 grams. But yeah, it's just.
So what was that for him, being a bigger dude? The 12 grams. What kind of level was that?
He said he saw a lot of different colors, and it was an experience. Yeah, so I would imagine. Yeah, I would imagine.
It's indescribable.
Yeah, he found himself in Ecuador shortly after the experience told him to get to the jungle for a little bit of resetting and get connected back with his native roots. So I just like to add that I think one of the biggest stigmas still is people associating cannabis as a drug and a gateway drug, and I think that that's ridiculous, because I've never ever in my life have seen anyone going from using cannabis regularly to heroin or coke or any hard narcotic, maybe alcohol, but even then I've never even seen anyone go from cannabis to alcohol. It's usually alcohol to cannabis and then pull away from it. But it just the gateway itself is not the plant to these other drugs, it's the drug dealer. And because cannabis has been illegal for all this time, it's been left in the hands of distribution to drug dealers, and these drug dealers sell other drugs. So they're selling cocaine and ecstasy and sometimes even harder narcotics or pills. And what happens is you go to this person that's selling you your weed, and you're buying your cannabis from this person, and you're there one day and they start selling coke to one of their other clients, and you're relaxing with this person and they tell you, did you want to try some, or do you want to buy some, or anything. That introduction right there to the cocaine was not done through the plant itself, it was done through the channel. And that's what I tell people, cannabis itself is not a gateway drug. It's the drug dealers that are the gateway, and they're the ones that are in control of the cannabis plant at that time. And it's still happening in other states right now, in cities. Fortunate for us, we're in Arizona, where we can go to a dispensary and buy our vape pens. We can buy our edibles. I don't like people talking about cannabis being a gateway drug because it's not. Alcohol is a gateway drug. Yeah. Other narcotics are gateway drugs, but cannabis itself actually helps people get off of drugs.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's a good point. Yeah, it's ignorant to say that it's a gateway drug. And you're right, that's my personal experience. Whenever I first started smoking, it was like 2010, 2011, right before it was legal at all, even on a medicinal level. And go to a drug dealer's house to get some. And one time he offered me some other shit. I don't even know what it was. It was like, I don't know, where they tamper with like acid and stuff, and there's all sorts of crazy drugs on like the black market and shit, like just random shit that chemists come up with, and he offered me some, and luckily, I think in the moment I might have been a little bit more curious about it and might have even tried it, but my friend was like, no. Like, nah, that's not what we're here for. We're not doing that, so I really appreciate that friend back in the day. But that's exactly how it happened. I've never, personally never felt the need to try anything else because of that, except for other psychedelics, not gonna lie.
Oh, yeah.
It did introduce me to the psychedelic realm, so, yeah.
Well, it's all medicine, so.
Mm-hmm. Plant medicine. Thank you, David. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Love you guys.
Thank you. We're out.
Oh, man.